Welcome to this custom deep dive made just for you.
Hello.
We're jumping right in today, looking at an article about the Final Fantasy XI mobile reboot.
Ah, yes, that whole saga.
Exactly. So our mission really is to unpack what happened there. You know, the timeline, why it got canceled after so long.
Yeah, it's a really interesting look kind of behind the scenes at game development. Shows you how even the big players, the big franchises, face real hurdles.
Mm-hmm. Especially adapting old games to new tech.
Definitely.
Okay, so the main news from the source is pretty clear. The mobile version of Final Fantasy XI officially canceled.
That's the headline, yeah.
Yeah.
But the timeline,
Yeah.
that's where it gets pretty wild. This wasn't some quick attempt. It was announced way back in 2015.
2015, wow. In mobile years, that's like decades ago.
It really is. And they were pretty specific back then, too. The idea was to really optimize that whole FFXI MMO experience, but for smartphones.
Optimize how, though? Did they say?
Yeah, the source mentioned things like improving party organizing, making solo play a bit easier, tweaking the battle system, in-game events, tailoring it for mobile play.
Right, makes sense.
And they even had a release target, 2016.
Okay, so 2016 rolls around, and radio silence.
Pretty much. Yeah, crickets for a long time. It popped back up briefly in 2018.
Oh, yeah.
The article said some screenshots surfaced, apparently from Nexon's website, so it looked like things were still, chugging along maybe.
But still no game.
Nope, no game, no big updates. Yeah. And then the final word, March 24th, 2021. That was the official cancellation date.
Wow. March 2021, so that's 6 years after they first announced it.
6 years. And 5 years after that initial 2016 target. That is a long time in development, especially for something that just vanished.
Incredible. Who was actually making it for all that time? It wasn't just Square Enix, right?
No, it was a joint project. Square Enix, obviously, since it's their IP, and Nexon.
Okay, Nexon and the reason. After 6 years, all that effort. What was the official line for, pulling the plug?
Well, according to the article we looked at, the reason given by Square and Nexon was that the project failed to meet Square's creative standards.
Failed to meet creative standards. That sounds significant, but maybe a bit vague, too.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
It's often used. The source also mentioned, kind of as a side note, that the dev team was reportedly moved on to other things.
Okay. Standard procedure, I guess.
And it also just contextualized the date, mentioning other FF news around March 2021, like the FF7 remake intergrade trailer dropping, just showing what else was happening.
Right. Okay, let's dig into that creative standards reason a bit. 6 years is a huge investment to just write off. What do you think that really implies?
Well, I think it speaks volumes, honestly. It likely points to just how incredibly difficult it is to take a game like FFXI. I mean, think about it. A complex, old-school MMORPG built for PC, keyboard, mouse.
Yeah, our console controller.
Exactly. And try to squish that onto a phone screen with touch controls. It's not just about the graphics.
No, it's the whole experience, the UI, the controls, the feel of it.
Precisely. Things like complex party coordination, managing huge inventories, the real-time combat, making that work well on mobile. That's a massive challenge.
In Square Enix, they definitely have a certain quality bar for Final Fantasy titles, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's an expectation. So, failing to meet creative standards after 6 years, it strongly suggests they just couldn't nail it. They couldn't capture that FFXI essence or make the gameplay feel right on mobile in a way that met their internal standard.
So it's a stark reminder that some concepts, even with big names and money behind them, just might not translate well.
Yeah, especially across such different platforms and, frankly, at different eras of game design.
Okay, so pulling back a bit, this whole story, this 6-year journey ending in cancellation, it really highlights the risks and the difficulties in these big, ambitious projects, doesn't it?
For sure. Especially adapting older, complex games. It makes you think, how many other projects do we never hear about that hit similar walls?
Which is exactly why this is relevant to listening right now. It's a real look at the often hidden struggles of game development. We see the shiny announcements, the successful launches, but we don't always see the long, difficult roads or the projects that just don't make it. It helps explain why some games seem to vanish or take way longer than expected.
Yeah, development isn't easy. Sometimes the challenges are just too big, even for huge franchises.
Absolutely. So let's recap the key takeaway here. The Final Fantasy XI mobile reboot, announced 2015, target 2016, popped up again briefly 2018.
It was officially canceled March 2021. 6 years later.
Because it reportedly just didn't meet Square Enix's creative standards for Final Fantasy.
And that leaves you with something to think about. What does it really take for a game to hit those creative standards for a massive franchise like Final Fantasy? And how many other ambitious ideas might fall short behind closed doors, before we ever even know they existed?
A really interesting question. Thanks for diving into this with us.